children have great wisdom also, children who are just normal, ordinary kids. And there was a kid named Greg Harrison that was dying of cancer. And someone asked him, well, what does it feel like you're going to be dying? And he said, well, I think what we are is that these are just superficial bodies, that when you die, you just let go of this body, which was never real in the first place.
Wow.
And then you're at one with all souls. And then sometimes you come back and act as a guardian angel to someone. And my belief system, Diane's, is that Greg acts as a guardian angel to us. And I think it's a pretty wise way of looking at that. Looking at that, to see that these bodies are just costumes. And when we let go of this and see the light in other people, one of the principles in our book, A Mini Course for Life, in the 18th lesson, it says, I choose to see only the light in you and recognize that it's only a reflection of the light in me. So healing the illusion of separation is not seeing in people's behavior, but to be willing to each moment to have peace of mind where we're not trying to change other people, but as we change our mind through forgiveness and not getting caught in the anger that we oftentimes feel and let go of that and just see the light in people, we begin to experience a sense of oneness. And that sense of oneness allows us to not get caught in feeling that there's anything such as death, because the bodies are not real, they're just an illusion. And if we really begin to see that, we begin to lose our fear of dying, and we lose to feel that love is eternal. And when you think love is eternal, and you begin to see love is the answer to any problem we're going to face in this kind of illusory world that is so filled with fear and impossible solutions, because we continue to believe in anger, we believe in battle, we believe in wars. And so the healing doesn't come from changing the world, it comes from changing our own mind. And as we change our mind, we change the world.
Wow, that's incredible. And I had to say, what incredible wisdom from a little child. It's saying something with that kind of depth of understanding of the world and the universe and how life works. That's a lesson for the ages that even adults often barely grasp.
Well, he was out of denial. So he knew he was going to die because they were stopping the treatment. And so he was able to come to terms with it. And, you know, we were talking about before about the fear of dying, and I don't believe that everyone's afraid of dying, because I think it depends on your belief system. And some people are faith-based, and even people that aren't necessarily afraid of it, but at least they've come to terms with it. The fact that the body is going to end. It's a very comforting thought to think that part of us, some level of consciousness, goes on.
Boy, and if you can...
But you and I were raised differently.
Yes.
I was raised with a lot of fear about dying, and you never really felt a fear of dying.
No, I've never been afraid of dying.
Why is that?
No.
Yeah.
I believe my mother was never afraid of dying. I don't think my father was either, but we never talked about it. But my mother was clearly never afraid of dying, and now she's 90, and she was very ill a year or two ago and almost died 3 times, and I actually saw that she really isn't afraid of dying. And in watching her, she watched her father, who wasn't afraid of dying. And so I'm watching her, and I'm not. And it's, it's very comforting. I think, you know, when you come to terms with the concept of dying, you're able to live your life with much more joy.
And again, getting back to the theme, you're eliminating the illusion of separation of yourself from your physical body.
Yes.
You know, when you're watching a beautiful sunset, you lose all sense of time.
Right.
You lose all sense of past and future. You're not thinking of your body. You're just feeling something that's out of the body, that's very high spiritual kind of feeling. Now, if someone comes along from the University of Hawaii and says, I'd like you to analyze every sunset you've seen, all of a sudden you start to analyze it and you lose the peace and the joy from that experience. So we're talking about letting go of the intellectual mind that sometimes interferes with our taking on a new belief system. So we believe that for us to let go of the fear, it's helpful to start the morning with a to-be list rather than a to-do list. And by that
Now,
I
that's
mean,
interesting stuff there. It's a to-be list
Yeah.
rather
Yeah,
than a
Jerry made
to-do
that up. I
list.
think it's fabulous.
That's
it's
that's
changed our
beautiful.
mornings.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Talk more about that, Jerry.
so what
Yeah.
would happen if we said, I'm going to remind myself my being is unconditionally loving, unconditionally forgiving, unconditionally gentle and kind and generous and open-mindedness and compassionate. Wouldn't we start living that day as if we were joined with each other and see that as a reflection of ourselves rather than doing what many of us do, and we get caught in that too. We're not there all the time, but when we see something in another person that we're attacking them about, oftentimes it's a reflection of something we're feeling about ourselves and that we're only projecting it out there.
Often or always?
Always.
We're just being gentle. It's actually
Always.
always.
But we hide that awareness from
Right.
ourselves. So again, we like to suggest that it's possible to start the day having peace of mind as our only goal.
Right, and actually that's actually a revolutionary concept, because people think it's revolutionary to say, okay, I'm going to have my to-do list, and you number them and you put them in priority of the most important thing first, and you go down and check your list off.
Yeah.
But I think it's far more important to have a to-be list. That's a wonderful concept.
It's amazing, Dr. Shintani, how much you accomplish with the to-be list versus the to-do list. We know that your lifestyle is extremely busy. People can't even comprehend how much you do. But Jerry and I also, as you mentioned, the number of countries. It's actually out of
Oh,
Mongolia.
dear.
Was our 55th
Oh,
country,
my
which we just
gosh.
returned from.
My
And
gosh,
so we
yeah.
have 30 years of an incredibly busy life. And if not, and of course, before we met each other too. But this to-be list has, I want to say that it's calmed the pace. Because we're
amazing.
accomplishing, I feel like I accomplish
Oh,
more
yes.
now
Oh.
than I did before when I was double tasking and triple tasking.
Anyone who sees the resume of the two of you wonder, how in the world did these two people do it in a lifetime? It's amazing. Yeah,
We're
it's
just very
amazing what
old.
you've done.
Well, it's helpful to remind ourselves. It's helpful to remind ourselves during that last day of our life, we're really not concerned about our to-do list, how much we've accomplished, how much money we have in the bank. What most people are concerned about is their loving relationships that they have. That is what really becomes important.
Yeah.
But they don't live their lives that way. They live their lives as it's what's more important to how many books you sell or how many things you've accomplished. And the more we start emphasizing the being and to recognize that our heart is always full of love. We're born with the essence of love. We're born with that innocence. And when we remind ourselves there's that innocent child in each of us, and we can see that innocent child in another person, we stop worrying about death. We stop worrying about the negative things in life. We begin to experience a sense of joining and oneness that makes us even feel more peaceful. And then the more that we give other people, the more we feel joy. It's the highest form of joy, I believe, is voluntarism, helping others as we learn to help ourselves.
Well, Jerry, on that to-be list, one of the things, yes, I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the things you did mention is that we almost always have on our list in the morning, we kind of say it out loud, and each one will add something in. And this is before we get out of bed. And one is today I want to be of service to others, to find ways to serve other human beings on the planet.
So for the audience, can you go over some of the to be's?
Well, you mentioned quite a few before, Jerry, about to be compassionate, to be gentle, to be open-minded, to be open-hearted, to be
loving.
Yes, to be loving, to be joy-filled,
Not just
to
loving,
be honest,
unconditional loving.
unconditionally loving. That's right, Jerry.
And to trust in love. And
Right.
have faith in something that's bigger than yourself.
And have unconditional regard for other human beings, all forms of life.
That's great, and people need to do that, and I think that's worth.
And forgiving.
And to be forgiving.
Yes,
Wow.
I mean, I can't believe I left that at the end, because I usually have that right up
Well,
at the
you
beginning.
leave the best for last.
Right,
Yeah.
to be forgiving, to be unjudgmental, to etc.
So a lot of people listening to us that are going through great economic strain based on the fact that they don't have a job, and are they going to be able to pay for their mortgage? And we'd like to suggest, if you're, for a moment, let go of your body identity, and while you're not looking for a job, find someone to help. Volunteer at a school, volunteer some other place, and you'll find a sense of joy rather than worry about the future. Worry only causes us to attack ourselves and to suffer. And it's a useful tool that the mind, ego mind, uses to keep us in a vice. So we begin to let go of worry, we begin to let go of stress, and we begin to let go of fear when we, again, 100% of ourselves are concentrating on focusing on having peace of mind and giving that as a gift. So when we're working with someone who's dying, or we're working with someone who are dealing with mourning from loss and grief, we feel our words are much less important than the peace and love that we can demonstrate to someone that we're with without feeling a sense of fear. And that's probably more infectious than any virus I know, is expressing and expanding that love.
We're at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, I would like to continue on this discussion about how attitudinal healing can help with stressful situations and with challenging relationships.